Very good. Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I know that there's some folks like trickling in, but welcome back to part two of social media tactics. We have the expert Laureen Rodriguez with Mariposa Marketing that has so much experience that has been sharing with us. So if you've missed part one, it's in our YouTube channel. So just search New Mexico Minority Business Development Agency, and it's all recorded there. And we are ready for part two. Laureen will explain a little bit more about if you joined this and it's the month of March 2024, or maybe even early 2024, and you're interested in getting support with social media, like hands-on for your specific business and helping with content, Laureen can help you with that. So please follow up with us directly and she'll share a little bit more about that. But welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have this webinar again. The New Mexico Minority Business Development Agency has also many additional webinars on many other topics. So please visit our website on the events page, and that has a calendar of activities where you can register to attend. So I will share it over to Laureen so she can start sharing you all the information that you're here to learn.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I'm so excited and blessed to be here with you today. We'll go ahead and jump in. Give me just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and just give me a thumbs up if y'all can see it. Yes. Okay, good. Awesome. Perfect. Oops, there we go. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for being here. I'm excited for part two of this series. If, like Gabby mentioned, if you did not watch part one, I recommend that you go back and rewatch it. Some of what we talk about today will be a little bit along the lines of part two here, but I just want to make sure that you get the full value out of all of this. So first of all, thank you to the NMBDA for having me, and thank you as the participants for being here today with me as well. So a quick little recap, just the main idea that I want to impart to you as a result of our last session is that social media is no longer optional. So we're starting today's session with the understanding that we are at a point in time as business owners in 2024 where social media is here and it's here to stay. And this is the time for us to really, really take hold of our social media presence. And 2024 is the year for us to really meet this goal boldly. And my goal is today to help you work through some of those things and to make that easier for you. But before we jump into that, a quick little intro. If you were not here at the last session and you are here today, I'm Laureen Rodriguez. I'm CEO of Mariposa Marketing. We are a full service marketing agency. We provide marketing that meets you where you are, located here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it is our joy and it is a blessing for us to serve the community of business owners whom we serve. And overall, it's one of the greatest blessings of my life to run the agency and to impact small businesses in our community. And as your first social challenge of the day, I encourage you to go take a look at our website, mariposams.com. Also, please go follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are always sharing content about the local business landscape. We are always providing tips and tricks and things that can really help your social media presence. So make sure that you go and follow us. I also want to make sure that I mention that the NMBDA is offering, as Gabby mentioned, hands-on services with your social media that will be provided by my agency, Mariposa Marketing, as far as helping you to either set up or optimize your social pages. And with that, we're also providing a small content batch for you. So if content creation is the thing that kind of bogs you down and you need a little bit of help with that, this would be perfect. Our goal is that any of the people who are on this webinar who want to take part in this, we really want to give you the foundational and fundamental tools to set a really good foundation for you for your social for this year. So if you need your pages optimized, maybe we find as we go through, we do a little audit, we find that it's not we're not driving traffic to the right place, or maybe we need to update your bios and messaging. All of this can be provided to you completely free. So if you have not reached out to the ladies over at NMBDA, I encourage you to do that, because there's only a certain amount of people that we can accept on that list. So the sooner that you get on that list, the quicker you're able to reserve your spot. And as I mentioned, these are services that my agency will be providing to you because of the NMBDA, completely free of charge. There's $0 investment on your part. So something I would rush to be able to do that right after we exit this webinar. Okay, so a quick little recap of the things we covered last time. We talked about the fact that as a business owner in 2024, using social media, you need to have an objective. We need to know our destination if we are going to figure out how to get there. We also need to understand our audiences in a deeper, more intimate level. We also talked about that we need to know our platforms, because not every platform is for everybody. So these are some of the things that were covered in session 1. As I mentioned, go back and watch that if you didn't, where we dive deeper into all of these. But pretty much to sum it up, what we said is whatever we do on social media, let's be intentional. In fact, this is kind of a life's mantra for me. Whatever we do, do it on purpose. However we decide to approach our social media, I want to make sure that it's done with discernment and intentionality. Not everybody's goals are going to be the same. Not everyone's following is going to be the same. But whatever we do, let's do it on purpose. Let's be intentional. And so that's what I really want you to start thinking about as you start to put these pieces together for your channels. How can you be intentional? And whatever you do, how do you make sure you do it on purpose? We're not here to throw spaghetti at the wall and hope that it sticks. We're here to approach it boldly with the plan. So my hope for today is that you can see some powerful tools that will actually make a difference for you. This is the session where we get a little bit more tactical, and this is where we're going to talk about some specific strategies that you can implement to see results right away. I also want to make sure that I do my best to reignite your excitement and your hope for what social media could be for you and for your business. So I want you to leave feeling excited and optimistic. And I also want you to leave with your questions answered. Just so you know, there will be a chunk of time at the end of this webinar where we can get into questions specifically. So if you have questions, make sure that you're dropping them into the chat throughout the presentation so we can get to those at the very end. But first, I want to hop into a quick little pop quiz. I got to make sure it's after lunch. I got to make sure you guys are still awake and with me. So this is going to get a little interactive. So we're going to do a little bit of a pop quiz. I'd love to see your responses and where you're landing on some of these things. If you could please put your responses into the chat, that would be amazing. The first being true or false. Viral videos mean a guaranteed increase in sales. I would love to hear what everybody thinks about that. That if you have a video that goes viral, that it will most likely, or it will guarantee an increase in sales. Okay, I see a couple of options coming in here. True, false, false. Anybody else? Drop your responses in the chat. What do we think? A viral video means an increase in sales. Okay. Okay, I'm mostly seeing false coming in. Let's go ahead and see what is the true answer here. Okay, so it's going to be false. Viral videos do not always mean an increase in sales. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. What we've seen in our experience with our clients at Mariposa Marketing is we can have a video go viral. And although in the beginning, it's really exciting because you see all of this activity coming in on your page, it doesn't necessarily correlate to the result that you're hoping for, especially when it comes to sales. You could have a viral video and it converts to maybe a couple of followers, and you could have a viral video that doesn't necessarily mean an increase in sales. And so this is where we go back to session 1, where we talk about knowing our objective. If your goal is sales, there's other ways to try to achieve that than just trying to get a viral video, because not every time that you have a video go viral is it going to increase your sales. This is where we get to be strategic about this. So awesome. For those of you who said false, mark that as a 1 correct. Next question. We're gonna do the same thing here. Put your answers in the chat. Mastering social media is a matter of figuring out the algorithm. Who thinks that social media is a matter of figuring out the algorithm? The algorithm's kind of this invisible villain that we've all fallen under. If you use social media, you understand how the algorithm is that that thing that controls how many people see your content, whether or not it's going to be shown to anybody for that matter. What do we say? Okay, so I see some more truths coming in here for this one. True, 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 and then a false. Okay, let's talk about that. So my answer to that one, false. The algorithm is a moving target and there's no set formula that's guaranteed. So here's what I've heard a lot in the industry. People are hoping to find this formula that if I just do these things, if I just post at this time with this hashtag, with this type of content using this audio, then my page is going to blow up. And then you find people that go do the exact same thing that worked for somebody else, and they're frustrated because they didn't generate the same results. And so what I'm finding in my contributions of hundreds of local pages, also we manage a digital university across the United States. So I'm coaching social media managers on this across the country. We're finding that there's no algorithmic formula that is a guaranteed, if you follow it, that it will generate the results that you're hoping for. In fact, I can't guarantee this, or I can't say this because I don't have the actuals about it, but it feels like it's almost like everyone has their own micro algorithm, and we're all attempting to figure out what the system has set as our parameters for ourselves. And so that's something that if you were somebody who you spend time thinking about, how can I just, what's that 1, 2, 3 step, that I can take in order to get the results I want? Unfortunately, in my experience, we just haven't seen that happen. So what I would say instead is to, under your own pages, with your own audiences, your own objectives, to just start looking at things strategically in the way that it makes sense for you. As we talked about before, this is going to look different for everybody. So whatever we do, let's make sure that we do it on purpose. Someone else's success and formula doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for us. Okay, our last question here, true or false, the more platforms, the better. Would love to see where y'all are landing about this. The more platforms mean the better reach, the greater audience we will touch on, the better digital presence we will create for ourselves. What do we think about this one? Okay, I see a little bit of a mix here. False, false, true, false. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about that. In our professional and expert opinion, we believe this is false. In 2024, what I think is most fruitful for businesses is to take on less, that less is more, and focusing on less platforms with consistency. We don't want to overcomplicate things. So here's what I find. Businesses feel the pressure to be on every platform, and that if they're not reaching this invisible social media goal they set for themselves. But I think the biggest part is saying, well, what platforms actually make sense for me to be on it, right? An example that I'll give you guys is X or Twitter. Some businesses are like, well, do I need to be on Twitter? Well, then it's asking, well, who's your audience? Oh, it's local New Mexicans or, local residents of Albuquerque. Okay, well, when we look at the usage of regular everyday people from Albuquerque on Twitter, there's just not that big presence that you have on Facebook, for example. Now Twitter's used, I keep saying Twitter, X is used by a lot of larger organizations. A lot of places put out updates, news updates, things like that. But as far as reaching a local audience, it just doesn't make sense all the way. So I wouldn't encourage someone, okay, go put a bunch of time, effort, and energy toward a platform where your audience just isn't there. So that's why I want you guys to almost lift off the stress that you might be feeling because you feel like you need to be on every platform. The truth is you don't. And my recommendation would be on the platforms that make sense and only do enough, 1 to 2 platforms where you can have consistency, because consistency is going to matter more than the amount of platforms that you're on. I'd rather have you on Facebook and Instagram only, posting consistently, than have you on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, right? 5 different platforms, and you're able to post once or twice a month. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that busts that myth for you guys. So let's see if you got 1 correct, bravo, 2 correct, awesome, and 3 correct. You are a social media pro. I give you your virtual trophy here. I applaud you for your correct answers today. That concludes our little pop quiz. Now that we're warm, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's content. So this is where we're going to go ahead and talk about strategic things that you can do and implement to start seeing better results on your social media content. So if at any point you guys have questions, drop them in the chat. We'll get to those at the end. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that we recommend you create a monthly plan and calendar for your business. I think this is incredibly fruitful and very important for those who want to have consistency. I also want to encourage you to take the tactic of learning to use your mobile device for content creation, especially for video. Lastly, we're going to talk about leveraging AI to help you save a lot of time and planning. And I think this is something that a lot of people haven't used it in its fullness for social media management, but I think it could be very fruitful for you. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Creating a monthly strategy. So me and my team, we use this monthly strategy template, which if you are somebody who signs up for the social media services through NMBDA, I would be happy to share this template with you. Here's what it requires us to do on a monthly basis. So generally speaking, me and my agency, we are creating our clients' content a month in advance. Everything is planned around what's happening in the business. Everything is considered. And by doing it ahead of time, all of these things are taken into consideration. So this strategy template requires us to do the following. We have to state our objective. What does this client actually care about? Do they care about sales and leads? Do they care about overall brand awareness and visibility? It makes us to identify that so we know what we're trying to reach for. It also requires us to ask, what are our pillars of content? We're going to talk a little bit more about pillars of content, but for the most part, pillars of content are, generally speaking, on a monthly basis, it's 3 to 5 topics you consistently talk about, and it simplifies your content creation process. Next, it requires us to look at, oh, okay, are there any unique ideas or campaigns I want to implement? For example, for the month of April, well, let's think about it. Does the client have anything big happening in that time frame? Is there anything we need to focus on? Are there any announcements that we need to consider? This strategy makes us look into all of that. It also requires us to assess, okay, well, do we need new photo and video to fulfill this? Can we use what we already have? Do we need to get some more content? And then lastly, it requires us to look at any patterns or trends to consider. A lot of our industries whom we serve, they have seasons and trends just like every other industry. So this requires us to take a look at that and say, okay, how can we make sure we optimize according to seasonality? So with that said, I want to talk a little bit more about content pillars. So I'm a big believer that there's freedom in boundaries. There is freedom in boundaries. So let's say that you're somebody who is having to create content on a monthly basis, and you get to the creative drawing board and you don't know what you're going to talk about. Let's say that you have to deal with that every time you go to create a piece of content. Well, here is where I will solve that for you right now by having a concept called content pillars in place. So what are content pillars? Well, it's 3 to 5 consistent topics you will discuss within your content on a monthly basis. Here's why this works so beautifully. 3 to 5 consistent topics. Well, let's say that you're posting 3 to 5 times. If you have 3 content pillars and you're posting 3 times a week, every time you post 1, 2, 3, now you know what your topic is going to be for each of those posts. So you're not arriving to this blank chalkboard where you're like, I have no clue what I'm going to be talking about today. You actually have some type of idea of what your content is going to be about. So let me give you a couple of examples. Number 1, let's say you're a fitness coach. Well, you want to include let's say your content pillars, you have 4 of them. Let's say you have healthy recipes, quick workouts, education, and motivation. Well, let's say you're posting 4 times a week. Awesome. One of those posts is about healthy recipes, one is about quick workouts, one is about educating about fitness, and one is to motivate your audience. Now you just solved that dilemma for yourself. You know what you're posting about. Let's say you're an interior decorator. Okay, well, your content pillars could look something like before and afters. Everyone loves seeing that about interior design, especially. Testimonials, also what's trending at the time, right? There's different styles like anything else. And also, what are some traditional different design styles? So 4 pillars of content, 4 posts a week, you've just solved that dilemma. What am I going to post about? So I recommend using the content pillar strategy. It will give you so much peace of mind, and it will make your planning and your content creation so much better and easier. Now let's continue with this strategy. This is page 2 of the template. And on this page, it requires our team to look at our content goals as far as how many times do we hope to post per week. So let's say that's, 4 times a week. And 1 month, we decide to up it to 5 times a week. Awesome. We now have a place where we've set a goal for how frequently we're going to be posting. So it makes us state that with certainty. Also, I love this strategy template because it requires us to look at past results and see what has actually worked in the past, which I love that because if you can find out what your audience has responded to in the past, you can have an idea of what you want to create in the future with the hope that if you do the same things in the same way, they're going to respond to it. You're going to continue getting those good results. So this requires us to take a look at what are some of those things that have worked. And then lastly, what format, days, and times we will post. So once this is completed for a month, then we know, okay, we can get to the creation process. I have my framework in place. Now I can start putting all the little pieces together. So I recommend that you start creating a monthly strategy. So what is your next step from this? Well, you are going to try to create a monthly plan. You're going to map out your goals, your content pillars, and you're going to put aside a couple of hours to create a plan. Now, this is not your actual content. Before you jump into starting to create, this is the plan that's going to help you to execute all of the creative ideas that you have. So before you jump into that, remember, we're doing everything on purpose. Everything has an intentionality behind it. You're going to create this plan first. Okay, so next we're going to talk about how we can use our device to create content. So I'm going to share this little video here that I'm actually very proud of. So one of my husband and my side businesses is we own one of the Paleta Bar locations. So shameless plug, come and see us. Ours is the Cottonwood Plaza location over off of Coors in 528. And last week we were doing some fun content for this product we have. It's called a michelada, and it has cucumbers and clamato and orange pineapple agua fresca and jerky, and has all kinds of things. As you can see, it's kind of one of those things that's extra. But I thought to myself, I want to do a video of this. Well, okay, I'm just going to take the product. I'm going to go outside and I'll show you. I got some natural light. I pulled out my phone and I did a quick little video. I'm going to show it to you guys just so you can see it. And this is with our big music, our speaker playing outside. So I didn't even have to add audio. It was awesome. Every day, like my eyeballs, like a replay. Okay, so as you can see, that was incredibly quick. It only took a couple of different turns, but it was a 6-second video. I posted that video and you would not imagine the amount of traction that I got from people who liked to see that product. Literally, all it took was my phone, a product in hand, some good sunlight, and I went like this around the product. That's it. And so I think that part of what happens in the idea of using your phone to create video is that it's complicated, or a lot of people go through the frustration of like, I need to go buy a new camera. I need all of this gear. And the truth of the matter is you don't necessarily need all of that. There's a lot that you can do with literally the phone that you are carrying around every single day. So my recommendation as of today is to show you how to use some of that in a more effective way so that you can capture better content on your phone and that's not a barrier for you to start posting. So here's some camera settings and tips I want to impart to you that I think will be helpful. Good lighting actually does matter. And so wherever you're able to accomplish this, I recommend that you do, but it also just kind of gives you a framework. If you wanted to do any type of video for your business, know that good lighting matters and that natural light is actually the best. You can mock natural light with some of that interior indoor light, but natural light at the end of the day, end of the day is going to be the best thing for all of your photo and video. I also recommend that if you are going to shoot video, shooting it on a setting, it's called 4K 60. So whenever you open your phone to shoot video, on the top right corner, right there, you're going to see a setting that allows you to, if you're using iPhone, so I'm going to go ahead and get close here so you can see it. So you see those little buttons right there. It's automatically set at HD 30. However, it's so quick and easy to do it. If it'll focus, you just tap them and it'll turn it to 4K 60. So by doing that one setting alone that takes you half a second, your video content immediately is going to be elevated in quality. So my recommendation when you're shooting in video, shoot on that 4K 60 setting, and your content, you are going to notice just how crisp and clean everything is. And all of that can be taken on a regular iPhone. I think mine's even the old version. I think I have like the 12 or something. So if you have something even newer than that, it's going to be even better. I also recommend for photos, let's say that you're doing some type of photo where you have one subject, you really want to focus on that, and you want to kind of give it that blurry vibe where something's in focus and something's blurred on the back. Using a function like portrait mode really helps those photos to come out crisp and clean as well. I will mention that if you have access to a tripod, that always makes things easier because you're able to, we only have two hands. So if you're shooting your own content, the tripod helps to just serve as that third arm that you wouldn't have otherwise. And those are pretty inexpensive. You can get those on Amazon. And lastly, the one recommendation I do want to make is to use a gimbal if at all possible. So you might be saying, okay, Lorene, what is a gimbal? Can you please explain this to me? Well, let's talk about it. So a gimbal is a handheld device that allows for cinematic quality video. So I'm going to show you here what it is. You can see someone in action using the gimbal. So it's a handheld. You see, you put your phone in it and you're able to control. It has kind of this little button that you're able to control angles and different things. Okay, so that's what it is. Now, let me show you over here, just in case you were looking to up your video game in 2024. It's a relatively affordable investment that can make a world of a difference. I just looked these up on Amazon and they're about $100. And so if you really do have a goal of focusing on your video content skills this year, this is an investment. I 100% recommend it. We use them at our agency all of the time. In fact, you wouldn't imagine how many times we're actually shooting on a phone just because a tool like this makes it available for us to be able to do that. So I recommend using a gimbal if at all possible. I want to show you the difference between using a gimbal and not using a gimbal so you can understand the difference in the quality of what you're creating. So in this first example, I'm going to show you, this is what it looks like when you're using a gimbal. So you can see how it's smooth, it's moving, and there's not a lot of shaking. It kind of gives it that movie feeling, that feeling that, oh, okay, this is a more elevated and professional approach to this versus I'll show you without a gimbal. You can see here how this is incredibly shaky. There is no gimbal. There's nothing to stabilize this person who is collecting this content. And so this gives you an idea of what is the difference between when I'm using a gimbal versus when I'm not. So you can already see for $100 investment, the elevation that you will experience in your, excuse me, sorry about that. The elevation in your content that you will experience as a result of using a gimbal. And just like anything, it's going to take some practice, but once you get the hang of it, you will be a whiz at video content. So what is your next step after all of that? Well, I'm going to recommend that you practice creating content on your phone. Just like anything else, it's going to take practice. And so play with the settings on your phone, experiment, try some different things, see what is actually going to work for you and the type of phone that you have, but it's not going to happen on its own. You have to set time aside and you have to be willing to practice on this because it's not something that's just going to come natural. It does take some consistency and you trying a couple of different things before you find out what works. Okay, so the other tactic we're going to talk about today is leveraging AI to the fullest. So this is going to be tools like, for example, ChatGPT, or my favorite AI tool as of recently is Google Gemini. Both of these are 100% free for the basic version, so there's no investment or subscription that you need. But these are two tools that I have grown to love and lean on quite a bit. So I want to get an idea for anyone who has used any type of AI tool so far, anyone who might have some even semi-familiarity with this. Um, can anybody share? Do me a favor and share if you have used any kind of AI, any kind of ChatGPT or anything along those lines. Can you put it in the chat? Would love to see. Okay, so we have a couple. Okay, so there's a couple who've used ChatGPT. Okay, there's a couple. Oh, someone has used both for social media. Perfect, to help with edits. Okay, awesome. So my hope is that these tools are not 100% new to you, but if they are, I think that after I discuss a little bit today, you'll be able to see the possibilities behind it. Okay, so someone has even taken a lesson on it. Yeah, these tools are revolutionary to the marketing world. And honestly, I only see them increasing and expanding as time goes on. So I don't have a ton of time today to go over all of the details about them, but I want to show you a couple of examples that I think will be really fruitful for you. So the first one is talking about how AI can help you in general as far as your social media. So social media ideas, social media strategy, social media captions, and just about anything else you can think of. I want to approach this portion of the presentation with the idea, however, that what ChatGPT can do for you in a lot of ways, it can do the thinking for you, putting a strategy together, helping you with ideas. What it cannot do for you is create. It can think, it cannot necessarily create. So let's go ahead in our own ways, draw the line in the sand to be able to to create that distinction. It can think, it cannot necessarily create. So here's what it does. Let's say you start to use some of these tools for your social media. What you're doing is you're letting it do some of that thinking, putting together, ideating, strategizing. And that's allowing you to take that energy that you would have put toward that into creating. Now you're not operating off of reserves that you have to allocate, all of the administrative stuff and your creation. Instead, you're lifting some of that off of yourself by using a tool like this, so you have the energy and the brain space to create really amazing things. So that's the part with AI. I just want to use it, carefully, because what I don't want to do is give you something and then make you think that it's turnkey ready. Most of the time, you have to put some human into it. You have to read through what it gives you and then modify according to your business, your industry, your location, all of those things. So let's talk a little bit about that. I want to show you guys an example of what I gave the system. Let's see here, what I gave it for some social media ideas. So here's an example. I told it, act as a social media manager for a plumbing company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Your goal of the channels is to increase leads and establish a local name. There are lots of other plumbing companies in the city, and you want to create something that is different and stands out, that will get the phone ringing. Give me a list of 10 content ideas that will drive sales and strengthen the local footprint. So some of the things I want you to note on here, I'm telling it how to act. I'm giving it a job title. You are a social media manager. I'm giving it a location. I'm telling it where we are and that it can understand that for companies in Albuquerque or New Mexico in general, location matters. There's a huge allegiance that people have to local businesses. I want to capitalize on that. I express the goal of the channels. What is our goal? To increase leads and establish our company as a local name. I also mentioned there's other companies in the city, and we want something that stands out. And then I gave it an actual action step. Give me 10 content ideas that will drive sales and strengthen the local footprint. So that's what I gave it. Here's what it gave me. Okay, social media ideas. Here's 10. Now, will I use all of these? No. But are these a good starting point? Did it do some of the thinking for me? Yeah, totally. Absolutely did. Here's what it says: DIY plumbing tips, customer testimonial highlights, local water conservation tips. Why did it give me local water conservation tips? Because I told it I'm in Albuquerque. What is this system thinking about? It's putting together that I live in a drought-ridden climate. And so for that reason, there's ways that we can talk about water conservation. If I had told it that I was, in Florida, it's not going to give me local water conservation tips. So this is where it's pulling some of that local information that can be useful for you. Also, a day in the life, employee features, community support initiatives. This is big if you're a local business. Seasonal plumbing and maintenance advice, emergency plumbing Q&A sessions, plumbing myths versus facts, local landmark spotlights with a plumbing twist, and exclusive social media discounts. So it gave me 10 ideas. Like I said, am I going to use all of those? No, but I need to put my human on it and figure out which ones make sense for me and for the business I'm representing. Now, here is one for a strategy. So you could tell it the same thing, right? Act as a social media manager for a plumbing company in Albuquerque, NM. Your goal of the channels is to increase leads and establish as a local name. Let me see here. Map out a strategy that includes different posting formats, recommended channels for reaching a local audience, frequency of posting, and map out my pillars of content. So that thing that we talked about earlier on, creating a strategy. Okay, well, now you have the ability to ask it to create that on your behalf, but you have to give it the context it needs to do it properly. So what did it give me? Okay, well, it gave me this entire social media strategy that included a recommendation of channels, a recommendation of posting frequency, 4 content pillars with content ideas, and a breakdown of posting formats, all of that within 20 seconds. And so this is where, as I mentioned, I'm going to need to go through all of this. Is it all incredibly relevant to what I'm trying to do? Not all of it, no. But is it a good springboard and jumpstart for me in order to start putting some pieces together? Absolutely, it did a good chunk of that thinking for me, all of that in less than 20 seconds. And so in today's day and age, time is money. We are all operating on limited time with a lot of things to do. And so wherever you're able to leverage this tool, I recommend that you get some practice and you start. Okay, so some bonus tactics that I want to touch on today before we jump into our question and answer session is I want to encourage you guys to give a try at some social media ads at a budget that works for you. So I'm not sure if you have attempted this at any time. I know for a long time, everyone has been pushing organic growth and organic reach. However, in 2024, I will be honest with you, what we've seen at the agency is that Meta products, specifically Facebook and Instagram, it's become incredibly difficult to build a very big audience on there in 2024. They are not generous about putting your content out in front of a lot of people. And so one of the ways to increase your following for a relatively affordable amount is to try ads. And you ultimately get to decide the budget that works for you. So, for example, let's say that you want to try something like, you give it an overall campaign budget of $20, $20, give it a try, see what type of activity that can generate for you. Let's say that you want to set something at, for example, $5 a day for the month. I think total that'll come out to, $150. And you're able to try some things and see if ads will be the right route for you as far as growing your pages or trying to generate more leads and sales. I know for a couple of our clients, we have seen incredible traction for that. And one of the examples I can share is, I think I mentioned this a little bit on the last call. So in conjunction with the Paulette the Bar location, we also, my husband and I own and operate. It's a concept called Chatter Paint. And so it's an interactive paint experience. You gear up and you put on, goggles and a poncho and shoe covers, and you gear up for blacklight paint war. So our biggest thing is that we are always trying to get birthday parties booked. Well, at the moment, I don't have a ton of time to dump into content creation to organically grow this thing. But what I do have is a little bit of ad budget to play with. So as of right now, I'm running $10 per day that comes out at the end of the month to $300 a month on ads. Now, and when I'm weighing out if this actually works for me, well, the way it works on my side is if I even book one party, I made my money back. If I book two parties, now I'm turning over a pretty good return. And on average, I think those ads at this point are probably bringing in for me 6 to 7 parties a month. And so with that said, that is a no-brainer to say, okay, well, if I spend $300 a month, I'm able to get back 6 or 7 times my investment. That to me totally works. So I'd love to give you guys the hope and encouragement that you don't have to spend a ton. You get to control the budget. And it's something that I think is worth looking at in 2024 because it's so hard to reach your audience. At this point, I want to say every post that you put out there, you're reaching on average about 15% of your audience organically. So if you're operating off of a few hundred followers, when you post, you're only reaching about 15% of that. So do the math on that. You have to ask yourself the question, is it worth it for me to go put a ton of time in when I could actually bypass that process a little bit, save some time, and help people see my content another way? So this is another one of those tactics that I think it's underutilized and it might make sense for your business to do so. The next bonus tactic I want to share is to collaborate and share audiences when at all possible. So let's say that you are a company that has local partnerships and you are a part of the community in different ways. Well, let's say that you now have content that is relevant to you and to that particular organization. Let's say that some of your content in some way was a collaborative effort. Well, my encouragement would be to, when you have that type of content, make sure that you're posting and tagging that organization so that they can go and share your content to their audience. But also, a new feature on Instagram in the Reels section is that you can invite a collaborator. When you do that and the collaborator accepts, that reel is automatically distributed to both of those audiences. So you're not just operating off of your audience, you now have the chance to be seen in another audience. And so that's where, if you have a good relationship with this collaborative party on the other side of it, you're capitalizing on two audiences with one piece of content. So wherever you have a chance to do that, wherever it makes sense to do that, by all means, I would recommend it. Let's say, for example, if I had a reel go out promoting this course specifically, and I invited on my Instagram reel the NMBDA to accept my collaboration. And let's say they accepted it. And now my reel is being shown to their audience and my audience, and it's free. No one necessarily had to pay for anything. They just have to accept the invite. So make sure when you do this that it makes sense for you, but I just want you to see the power and opportunity behind it. My last bonus tactic that I think could be incredibly fruitful for you guys is use Facebook groups to reach micro niche groups. Micro niche communities exist on Facebook, and whatever type of audience you might be looking for, if you can dream it up, chances are there's a group on Facebook that represents this. And so, what I know as far as groups, most of them have rules and parameters. Like, you can't just jump into a group and start promoting your business. You have to follow their guidelines. They don't want them to just kind of be this big channel of solicitation. So you have to tread lightly there. But where you're able to find that micro niched group, and you figure out how to make your way into that and be a part of that conversation, a part of that community, that can be a place ultimately where you're able to promote your services. I want to say for Albuquerque, there's a couple of groups I've seen it on one. I think it's called like Small Business Owners of Albuquerque. I think there's a photographers group. I think there's one, there's a couple of different groups around Albuquerque foodies. So if you're a restaurant, you might want to get in there. So eventually you can find a way to put your own content up in there to the people who care about Albuquerque food, right? So this is a place where you're able to meet people within their own very unique interests in a way that overall it will make sense for you to show up in front of them, and where they've already accepted the idea that, yeah, I want to be a part of this group so I can receive content like this. And it's not necessarily going to feel spammy or like you're soliciting anything. You're just becoming a part of the existing conversation around that product or service that you already offer. So I recommend utilizing that tactic if you have not tried that. So overall, we have touched on 6 tools that I think would be incredibly fruitful for your business, 6 strategies that I would implement. I want to touch on some quick free tools to download. I think I mentioned this last time. I'm always trying to save everybody a buck or two. So my recommendation for these is to download and or start using these 2 tools. The first one, ChatGPT, we talked about that for idea, strategy, and copy. To use the regular plan, there's no subscription cost. If you want to use the, I think 4.0 version of it, which honestly, I would recommend starting with the free version and utilizing that to its fullest extent. That's something you can start using immediately after this call closes. You can go start popping some things in there to give it a try. So definitely make sure that you do that. And then the other one, and I think we touched on this a little bit in the previous one, was the app that we're using at the agency to edit our videos on our phone. It's called CapCut. And so that one is another one where there is a free version, 0 investment cost on your part, and you can download it on your phone. So all of the reels that I'm editing at this point are going through CapCut, and it's become a tool that honestly, I don't know how my agency could operate without it. We use it so often, and I don't think that you necessarily need the paid subscription. Maybe that's something you build up to over time, but for now, my recommendation, keep it free. Use these tools to their fullest before you start paying for anything. But I'll leave you with this part. This is what I really think you should start using right away. So along with these 2 tools and the 6 tactics and strategies we've talked about today, I will now open it up for a quick little Q&A session. And this is where if you have a question, something specific to your business, feel free to drop it into the chat. Whatever the question might be, this is the opportunity for you to get your questions answered. I will be abundant in my sharing of anything that I have to help mobilize your business and take it forward. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Laureen. And just to say that there was already a comment, I don't know if you can see from Shannon, that says, already started using CapCut instead of IG Reels, and she sees a big difference. The closed caption function alone was much better. So
Yay, awesome. And it is, I think I'm able to make reels, pretty good ones with several clips in about 8 minutes and under. Not like I'm timing myself, but I am. When you have to create them in volume, you want to make sure you're quick at it. But the more practice you give the platform, the faster you get at it, and you're able to pump things out really quickly. So
awesome.
bravo.
I did have when people were registering, there was a question. I don't see this person here, but just in case they watch the video later,
Okay.
the question was how to make good social media posts.
Okay, how to make good social media posts. I feel like there's 100 different ways I could answer that. But I think the biggest thing that I would encourage you to do is ask yourself the question, what does your audience want to see? What does your audience want to see? And being able to answer that will help you figure out, well, okay, help me to define what is good. What is good? Is that something that you determine or your audience determines it? At the end of the day, your audience gets to determine if something is good or not. So I would step into their world, ask yourself the question, what are the things that my audience cares about? What are the things that, what are their pain points? What are the solutions that my product or service brings them? How do I focus more on, rather than focusing on the qualities of what I do, but the actual benefits they'll experience? How do I make somebody care about that? So I think that would probably be the foundational piece of it, knowing who you're talking to, knowing what type of language and jargon do they speak, knowing what are the values that they really care about. All of these little contextual pieces will help you to craft a post that audience will deem as, oh, that's good content. I want more of that. That's what I would recommend.
Thank you for that. There's another question that says, do you use an electronic program for social content planning? I've been using Google Sheets, but the mobile version doesn't have robust text and formatting options.
Yeah, what I would say, so for social content planning, one of the tools that me and my team use, it's called monday.com. And it's more of a program management type type of software, so we use it for everything, but we actually create all of our social media calendars in that platform. And I also believe there's a free version, because I'm always trying to get you guys free versions. There's a free version that if you're a single user, you're not necessarily team collaborating, you can leverage that without having to pay for a subscription. But it helps because the way our team does it, we organize our content by week. And then every week we're able to say, okay, what are we posting, what format? And then what we then go and do is we take that content and we go and we put it into the Meta Business platform and we schedule everything. But where we're building the plan, because Meta Business Suite doesn't necessarily allow you the chance to plan everything out. They allow you to schedule it at the times and dates you want. We use Monday to build that plan out in a digital way, and then we move the content over and we put it into Meta Business Suite when we're ready to schedule it. So that helps us to stay organized as we're building an entire month's calendar. That's one tool that works for us, and it's free. So I would recommend giving something like that a try.
That's awesome. And actually, our team and actually different departments in the city also use Monday.com. But it's for the team collaborating, so we can keep track of all the activities and all the events that are happening and the work that we've been doing. So good to hear others are also using it.
Yeah, it's a good tool. It's a good tool, even if you're solo, but it helps to keep you organized. Would you say, Gabby, and stay on track with your timing? Assign yourself tasks, stay accountable, all of those things. I think it would really be helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Any additional questions?
Anything else? Happy to answer.
Praises here saying you are the best, Lorraine, so knowledgeable and helpful. We agree.
You guys are the best. Honestly, I'm so grateful to be able to impart anything I know to you guys. And honestly, my hope is that as a result of these sessions that you guys would sign up to get some of these free services. I believe anyone on this call has the chance to sign up. So if you want a second set of eyes on your social media pages where we can optimize what we can change, if you want to get that content pack going and ready for you, that's something we would love to be able to offer you guys. So it doesn't have to end here. You guys can sign up for some of those free services. Just make sure you contact Sophia. And I believe, yeah, she just put her info in the chat. So that'll be who you contact to get signed up.
Perfect. That's right. Well, I have a very short poll that I'll just launch right now, just so that we can have this feedback. I know it was great, so feel free to answer it if it's on your screen, if you have a minute. And yes, all of this will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel. So if there's things you want to go back to it should be posted tomorrow. You can always share with other coworkers or friends who might be also interested in listening to all of this. And of course, if you want a one-on-one session with Lorraine so she can, support you with your social media, please email us and we will make sure that she can connect with you. Very good.
Yes, I'd love to help in any way. Thank you again for the NMBDA to have had me today. So excited to be here, and I am looking forward to working with some of you. Hopefully all of you will want to take part in these free services. But thank you for the work you're doing, Gabby and Sophia. You guys are making a big impact in our community.
Of course. Well, thank you. Thank you. And everyone have a wonderful rest of your week. Enjoy spring. I see lots of flowers and cherry blossoms. And thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.